Hi everybody, this is Adam Kokesh on Thursday, February 16th, 2012, just a few days before the Ron Paul is the choice of the troops march on the White House coming up here on Monday, February 20th, President's Day. I got an anonymous email that said, please let your audience know that the military is actively discouraging any personnel, even retirees and reservists, from attending the Veterans for Ron Paul rally on Monday, even though participation is completely protected speech, even for active duty. Below is the email circulating through the D.C. area, signed 17-year veteran Ron Paul Donor, served in Iraq, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Colombia, Bosnia, Africa, Korea, and Germany. The original message from Joel A. Wager at Navy.mil. Subject, partisan political march. Importance, high. It has come to our attention that a partisan political march targeting military personnel is being organized for February 20th, 2012. See the link below. First, let me just say, sir, thank you so much. Not just for including the link in this email, but for putting the importance on high and sharing it with so many military personnel here in the D.C. area. I mean, we the organizers have been going out to all of the bars, strip clubs, tattoo parlors, and pawn shops around here, trying to collect all these emails from active duty guys one at a time. And wow, you really saved us the work, so thank you for the promotional help. But the email goes on. As a reminder, active duty personnel are prohibited by DoD Directive 1344.10, paragraph 4.1.2.10 from marching in a partisan political parade, regardless of whether they are in uniform or civilian clothes. Reservists not on active duty and retirees may not march in uniform, pursuant to paragraph 4.14. Reservists not on active duty and retirees may march in civilian clothes, provided that they do not otherwise act in a manner that could reasonably give rise to the inference or appearance of official sponsorship, approval, or endorsement. The directive is a lawful general regulation. Violations of paragraphs 4.1 through 4.5 of the directive by persons subject to the UCMJ are punishable under Article 92, failure to obey order or regulation. That's Article 92, the general catch-all part of the UCMJ that basically says if we don't like anything you're doing, we can punish you for it. Although there are plenty of rules that give them that kind of carte blanche. In addition, DODI 1334.01, paragraph 3.1.2 prohibits the wearing of the uniform by members of the armed forces, including retired members and members of the reserve components during or in connection with political activities. You may wish to advise your command regarding this particular event because of the apparent solicitation of active duty personnel. Signed, Joel A. Wager, Senior Attorney, Department of the Navy, Office of the Assistant General Counsel. Oh, don't worry, sir, I won't put your phone number out there. I wouldn't want too many of our Ron Paul supporters calling to thank you for your support of this event. And we have some independent confirmation of this from Kevin O'Drain, who put his name on this as an active duty member of the Navy on the event page on Facebook. He wrote, "Hi, I'm active duty Navy. Be warned, the following email is going out throughout the services. I am a big supporter of Ron Paul. I'm also a supporter of active duty military not getting involved with partisan politics. There is a reason these things are not allowed. If we were all getting drafted against our will, I would be more sympathetic, but as of right now, all of us on active duty are volunteers." The email I received is below. Micah Smith. Well, I want to share some of the comments on this. Very interesting discussion. Micah Smith. "The oath I took is more important to me than a directive. I'm ready to march." Gabe Lance. "I could care less about the directive. My country is more important to me than that. I won't be in uniform, but the Army can go blank itself if they don't want us to go. I'm not going to be in uniform, and I'm attending a meeting of Veterans for Ron Paul. 100% in compliance with the directive." Brett Klingel. "Remember, warriors, you can die for the inalienable right of the First Amendment, but you are denied your inalienable rights by some wannabe lawyer who wrote some crap trumping our supreme law. In my time, you weren't a real Marine without an NJP," or page 11. Oris Chesty Puller, "One of the most decorated and celebrated Marines in military history, said, 'You're not a real Marine until you get busted down once or twice.' Semper Fi." Kevin, the original poster camp, comes back here. "If you help set the precedent that it is okay for military members to march against their commander-in-chief in an attempt to sway public opinion, what happens when the top brass in the military think it's okay to march against a President Paul in order to sway public opinion? Mixing partisan politics with the military can be extraordinarily risky and has proved very destructive in history." Brett Klingel, "Can you cite historical examples of destruction when military men are allowed? No. Revolutionize? Free thought? About whom commands them? King George comes to mind. I'm sure you know others. Dana Costello. Fuck these motherfuckers. I am going in full BDUs. Fuck them. Josh Lee. Well, if they are smart enough to wear civilian clothes, they have no way of knowing they are military and don't just have short hair. When asked for ID, only show driver's license, not military ID. Demand to be shown a warrant if they want to search you. Well, there are not going to be people coming up to you asking you for your ID to see if you're active duty military at this event, but there will be cameras, there will be records. So if you want to take the strategy of just laying low, being in civilian attire, you're welcome to. Although you will be forced to show ID or some proof of service in order to march in the formation, but the only people that will be checking those IDs would be myself or one of my squad leaders, and I assure you none of us are active duty still, and none of us are law enforcement officers, so you don't have anything to worry about there. Sean Berry. If this is a directive, then how come active duty military are seen in uniform with political candidates all the time and no one says squat until now? Example, did anyone see the ad from a political candidate with Medal of Honor winner Dakota Myers endorsing them? Did anyone say squat about that? Wearing his blues and all. Troops are seen at rallies all the time behind particular candidates. The directive is never really enforced until now, so they can bite my ass. It is akin to charging someone for being patriotic in my book, and for keeping an oath to the Constitution, which should override any and all orders and directives. Evan Rohrbaugh. How can the regulation apply to retired members? That is the most disturbing part to me. Yeah, it is disturbing, but the idea here is that they would hypothetically threaten to take away whatever benefits you have for violating a rule that doesn't apply to you. Technically wrong, and just like my case with the Marines, it would be a case of pretty clear-cut political prosecution, but in persecution. But in this case, I think it would be technically wrong and have a really, really, really hard time going after a retired member of the military for speaking their mind politically. Jamal Jarvis. You've been warned. If you violate the UCMJ, you may suffer consequences. That having been said, you do what you need to do. Right now, the government is okay with troops fucking turtles while chipmunks nibble on your nuts. No kidding. Restrictions on bestiality were removed from the UCMJ as part of the NDAA. They don't want you to march for Ron Paul, but they're okay with you fucking a squirrel. What does that say about your bosses? Timothy Gagnon. To take an oath with the purest of intentions, to then realize that your commanding officers are disobeying the very same oath while telling you you can't. It comes down to a personal choice to obey your superior or obey your conscience. And yes, some transgressions are worse than others. Refusing to take a hill is much different than refusing to follow a regulation. I understand the conflict, but ultimately it's a personal choice each person needs to make for themselves. God bless you all, and whatever you decide, we understand and respect your decisions. Stephen Eberly. Well, yeah, I'm going active duty and all. I am on shore duty right now and not in any way contributing to what's going on overseas, so I don't want to leave before my EAOS, but if they want to push me around on this, that'll be my breaking point. And so long, Navy. Craig Thompson. Every time you stand up visibly for your convictions, you face consequences to varying degrees depending on the situation, whether it's alienating from the masses or the risk of family conflict or the potential of losing your source of income. If it were an easy fight, it wouldn't be worth winning. Mario Jimenez. At the end of the day, a soldier's service should lie with the U.S. and her people, not the POTUS who feeds millions to oligarchs who are deteriorating our economy. If you are a true American, you will march. Leonard Fly. So would the troops having to march for Obama while he is parading around the world campaigning in Air Force One be against DoD regs? Of course not, because when you are serving your king, you can do no wrong. Brent Robbins. Bravery in the face of impending doom is absolutely paramount. Don't let the bastards drag you down. Richard King. Sorry, but active duty have the same inalienable rights as the rest of us, and as a veteran, I support the right of active duty to march. It's their asses that are on the line more than anyone else. After all, they are the ones being sent to kill and to die. This would definitely be an order I would disobey were I still in the military. Adam Paul. The world needs more heroes. Please attend the march and do the right thing. God bless. Michael Urovic. Support and defend the Constitution comes before obey the orders of the President of the United States and the orders of the officers appointed over me. And from Joe Preet, and before we get to this last comment, I should just introduce Joe as one of the organizers of this march. He's going to be in charge of the ceremony flag detail at the White House, and part of that is going to include holding a hand salute for as many seconds as troops have died by suicide since coming home. And this isn't even veteran suicide. This is suicides from active duty service members. Guys still and gals still under the care and custody of the U.S. military who have committed suicide since Obama took office. We can't even get reliable stats for veterans, for people that are out of the service. They come home and get discharged and then commit suicide. But for the ones that are on active duty, since Obama took office, it's been a little over 150 per year, 2009, 2010, 2011, and a little into 2012 here. We're looking at holding that salute for almost 10 solid minutes. And that's part of the real threat that this represents, because those who benefit, who profit from the current foreign policy, know that it really destroys the premise of things when people are able to find out that the troops can come home and be so troubled by what they experience that they are inclined to take their own lives. And it's not because of the economy, it's not because of the normal family problems associated with deployment. And I would never speak for them or for the troops or even for our group, Veterans for Ron Paul 2012 for that matter, but it seems pretty clear to me that the lack of a clear moral imperative, the lack of being able to come home and say, my buddies who I saw blown up by IEDs died for a good cause, would be quite troubling, would be something that might incline someone to give up on life. And the military, this is the really sad part, the military doesn't even have to change the foreign policy, doesn't even have to cure the disease to help the symptom here. But instead, they're sending troops back into combat on psychotropic medications for PTSD and depression. You deserve better than that. The troops deserve better than that. And to see that 150 a year are going by the wayside for suicide and adequate care is not being provided by the administration is a disgrace. And calling attention to that is a real threat. But Joe writes, there's one thing people always forget to do when quoting regulations, and that is to look it up and read it yourself. I just read the entire directive, so let me break this down.